So you don't think that using preferred pronouns are loving in a way? Like,
I don't
can
think
I
it's
ask why?
loving. Yeah, so I think that the most loving thing we can do for people is to be honest with them and tell them the truth, even when they don't like it. Because all of us will believe false things about ourselves at one point or another. I might think I'm smarter than I am. I might think I'm dumber than I am. I might think I deserve to be paid more than I do. And when I have false beliefs about myself, I want those around me to tell me the truth and correct me, because otherwise I'll make decisions based on false beliefs, which will ultimately harm me and those around me. So like if I was a drunkard and an alcoholic and I identified as sober and I wanted everyone to address me as sober, and then I got behind a wheel of a car and drove, I'm putting myself and those around me at risk because my false belief about myself was never corrected.
Okay, but how does this correlate with using pronouns?
Yeah, so like if a man believes he's a woman, and we all go along with that. We use his preferred pronouns and tell him, yes, you're a woman, even though he's not. He might reason that women don't have penises, and he does, and so he's going to go about measures to take his off, which I think is obviously a negative outcome.
I mean, I don't know the exact percentages, but like, is getting, as a grown man, if you were to get your pecker chopped off and to get it changed into a vagina, who's to say it? Why do I care? Why? I don't give a damn. You're a grown man. Like,
So, I mean, I'm assuming you're male, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Would you want your wiener chopped off? Because I wouldn't. If I was in a deranged state like that.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, you wouldn't want it chopped off, right? And so if we're gonna love our neighbor as ourselves, I know if I was deluded to think that I
Okay,
was
but
a
not
woman-
everybody wants the same things.
Yeah, but some desires are wrong.
I paint my fingernails. Would you want your nails
No,
painted?
I wouldn't.
Exactly.
But my point is, some desires are disordered and wrong, and we shouldn't coalesce.
What
them.
makes something wrong?
The desire for a male to be a woman is wrong.
Why?
Well, for one, a male can never become a woman.
Why?
Why can a male never become a woman?
Why? Yeah.
Because he's a man.
Okay, but like, I'm confused. Why can a man never become a woman? You can't just say because he's a man.
Okay, so I produce sperm, right?
That's what.
I do. So I produce sperm, and I can't produce eggs, no matter what I do.
Well, my brother actually doesn't produce sperm. So is he now a woman just because he doesn't produce sperm?
So if he's a male, he has the natural capacity to produce sperm, regardless of if that capacity is ever realized where he has an immediate capacity to do it. Since he's a male, he's got the natural capacity.
Okay. So I'm still confused why this means a man can't transition into a woman. Like you
Why
have.
a man can't become a woman?
Yeah.
Okay, no matter whatever I do to my body, there's nothing I can ever do to be able to produce eggs. I can never become a woman. There's no way I'll ever be able to produce eggs.
Okay, but just because you can't produce eggs doesn't mean I can't call you a woman if you want to be one. That is like.
Hey, you could call me a cat. It doesn't make me a cat. You can call me a woman. It doesn't make me a woman.
I mean, does it though? Okay. I won't. I'm not gonna use anybody in the audience.
You can use me. Okay. So before the bells, you were giving me like a situation. Why don't you go ahead and repeat it?
Okay. So like, let's say I have never seen you before in my life. You shaved your beard. You had a wig. You painted your nails. You were wearing earrings. You were a gorgeous, beautiful. You just look like a beautiful lady.
Uh-huh.
I open this door. I look at you, I'm like, wow, that is a beautiful lady. In my world, in my reality, I have never met you a day in my life.
Yep.
All I see is a pretty woman. That's what I'm gonna see in my head.
Uh-huh.
In my head, I'm associating you with a woman. Until you tell me otherwise, until I'm like, hi, my name is Jason, nice to meet you. What's your name? And you're like, oh, my name's Hayden, I'm a dude. You're a woman in my head. Like, and then that's when I'll make the decision to like call you a man at that point. Because that's what you told me. That's what's true.
Because that's when you realize that you were deceived by appearances, right? It's like a good example is like fake fruit, right? I might be really hungry, and I might see a fake apple. But me seeing that fake apple and thinking it's real doesn't make it an actual apple.
Okay, but it's
I would have just been deceived. It's not an apple. You know, fake fruit, it's not actually like real fruit. It's just like plastic.
Okay, but it looks like an apple.
Yeah, so like if someone dresses as a woman and deceives you into thinking they're a woman, it doesn't actually make them a woman.
Okay, but what's the problem with me like just saying she, her, referring it to as what they want to be called as? I'm confused as why you think that's not loving.
Yeah, because it's affirming a false belief in someone. And then they make decisions consistent with that belief that harm themselves and others.
Okay, but if I am being called a man my entire life, or if I, in my body, I think I'm a man my entire life. Mm-hmm. I feel like a man, I act like a man, I do all these man things, and I have people coming from all over calling me a woman, is that not gonna make me feel like worse than if people were to just call me a man?
So let me just see if I got this right. So you're saying essentially if someone identifies as trans, identifies as like the opposite gender, and people call them their biological sex, they might take that as a form of like disrespect.
I wouldn't say it's a form of disrespect until you make it out to be. Like, yeah, you can always accidentally call somebody the wrong gender, but until you know that they want to be called a woman, and like it doesn't cause you any harm to acknowledge them as a woman. All it does by not calling them a woman is you just don't respect them as a person. Like,
No, I see. That's where I disagree. I think the ultimate form of respecting someone is caring enough to tell them the truth.
I don't see that to be true because in a way, like people lie all the time to protect people. Like I feel like that is a part of human nature is lying.
But just like think about the alcoholic example I gave earlier. Like if you were drunk and you thought you were sober, wouldn't you want people to tell you were drunk so you didn't do something dumb like get behind the wheel of a car?
One more time.
Okay, so if you were drunk, right, and you thought you were sober, wouldn't you want those around you to correct you so you didn't act on that false belief?
But being drunk has the capacity to hurt yourself and others. That
And so does thinking you're the opposite gender.
has the capacity to hurt yourself and
Absolutely.
others. How can you hurt others? By
Well, start with yourself, right?
Well,
I think we'd agree you hurt yourself when you chop off your wiener.
I don't really think it hurts per se. Like you're not really hurting yourself. You're making yourself feel better in the long run. Any surgery hurts. Any plastic surgery hurts. But that's just getting plastic.
Why do you think it's making someone feel better in the long run? What led you to that belief?
I just feel like if I didn't have a penis anymore and I had a vagina right now,
It wouldn't be a real vagina if it was surgery.
If I had a vagina right now, I wouldn't be very happy and I'd want to get a fake dick. That's just how I feel. If I were to put you in her body right now, you would feel weird that you have boobs and ass. You would want a penis. You would try. I'm not gonna say you yourself.
But here's the thing, though. Men can't know what it feels like to be a woman. Like if, for example, you had a man standing here who identified as trans and thought he was a woman, and he says, "I feel like a woman." He can't know what it is to feel like a woman because he's not a woman.
What do you think it feels to be like? What does it feel like to be a man? Is it just feeling a dick and balls in your pants? Is that the only thing that makes me a man?
The thing that makes you a man would be the natural capacity to produce sperm, right? So even if like you have someone who's pre-pubertal, hasn't produced sperm yet, they're still a man if they're a boy, right? But the one thing you asked that I didn't answer, and I want to answer it just because I want to be respectful of the question you asked, was essentially like, how does it harm others, right? If someone believes that they are the opposite gender when they're not, the way that it would harm others, for one, would be in the form of social contagion, and then number two, a decrease in social trust. So social contagion would be individuals see those around them cross-dressing, and they get this idea in their head that they might actually be the opposite gender. And then the other part of that is social trust. If I use the preferred pronouns of someone, which communicates inaccurately to them that they are the gender that they're not, that decreases social trust, because now I can't trust those around me anymore to correct the false beliefs that I hold, because I don't know if they're just trying to appease me or if they're actually telling me the truth. Lies are like social waste. Everyone is harmed by their spread. It's a quote from Sam Harris. He's an atheist philosopher guy. But that's what lies are. They are like social waste, and everyone is harmed by their spread. We want to be able to trust those around us.
I feel like that's just like that. I don't want to say that's nitpicky in a way, but I feel like on the base front of it, you should just be able to say, like, when you see somebody, you should be able to acknowledge if that's a man or a woman, and if they tell you otherwise, it should just, like, you shouldn't really think that deep into it. I don't think it's that much of a problem to, like, just acknowledge somebody for what they want to be. Like, I understand how you said the alcoholic, but me acknowledging my transgender friend as a woman he's not going to get behind a car and, like, get into a drunk accident.
But it will decrease social trust, and he might make decisions that harm himself.
What does that even mean?
The ability for me to trust that those around me will tell me the truth.
Because I acknowledge somebody's pronouns means I'm gonna lie to you? Is that what you're afraid of?
Using someone's preferred pronouns is lying to them in order to appease their false beliefs they have about themselves. That's not the attitude we want others to have towards us, and it's not the attitude we should have towards others.
But I feel like this isn't the same as just naturally lying to somebody. Like,
how is it not?
Me telling you that I'm a millionaire is completely telling you that I have a vagina instead of a penis. Because you can check if I have a vagina or a penis. I don't. You can also check my bank account. I don't have $1 million. But if I want to be acknowledged as a woman, like, I don't get why it'd be a problem even if what's in my pants stays in my pants. Like, it's not going to... I guess I can't really articulate what I'm trying to say here, because you are trying to like equivalate actual lies to respecting somebody's pronouns, which I just don't think are on the same level here.
Here's one thing that might be helpful. Are you familiar with the concept of the Oedipus trap?
No.
So it's where you make decisions that are so harmful psychologically to yourself that you can't bring yourself to admit that you were wrong. By using someone's preferred pronouns, you're further trapping them in the Oedipus trap. Because now if they later realize the mistake that they've made, it's going to be socially devastating for them to have to tell every single person that they've asked to use their preferred pronouns not to do that anymore.
Well, it would be the same thing if I were to legally change my name to Michael. It's Jason. If everybody's gone my entire life calling me Jason, I'm like, hey, I want to be Michael today. It's going to be a little bit of a social shock to start calling me Michael after years of calling me Jason.
So a little bit of a difference there. You can legally change your name. You can't change your gender. You can't change sex.
You can get people to acknowledge you as so, though.
You can get people to lie to you?
Okay, but if I don't tell anybody, like, in your reality,
people can tell, dude. You've seen people
no,
who identify as trans. You can tell.
That is a horrible analogy. I have seen beautiful, beautiful trans women who look like they were born a woman. I've seen like very, very buff like dudes who are born a woman.
Here's the thing, though, is even in the case where someone does pass for the opposite sex, when you find out they're not, all you do is realize that you were deceived.
Okay, so I don't care.
Okay, all right.
I don't care that. Who cares what I think they are?
Would you apply this to people who identify as transracial? I'm just curious.
No.
So if I asked you to address me as black, you wouldn't respect that?
No.
Okay, why not?
Because you're not black.
So I'm not black?
No, neither your parents are black. You didn't grow up around black culture. You've never been dealt with in a racial like tone that is degrading in a way. I just think it's completely like different. Transracial and transgender are completely different because you can't really like make an excuse for wanting to be transracial. Like calling yourself black isn't going to do anything for you. Like
now I think you understand how some women feel when men identify as women, because that man will never know what it's like to have been a woman. Just like I will never know what it's like to have been a black man.
So you think that it's the same thing if you want it to be black as to if I want it to be a woman?
I think they're both issues of lying, and I just don't think we should deceive others. Like some of the things you mentioned, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it sounded like if I was to identify as black and people addressed me as black, in some way, it sounds like you feel like I'd be appropriating some of the trauma that black people experience in America. Is that accurate? I'm trying to...
yes, in a way, but like at the same time, it's just like there's no reason to want to be black. Like there's no reason to try and be transracial. Like everybody bleeds the same. Like I feel like race is not as much of a social construct as it is as gender, but in its own way, it's still a social construct.
The point I was trying to make there is, do you think that some women may feel like men who identify as women are possibly appropriating some of the trauma that they experience in the world?
In what way, though?
So some women, I'm not saying this is the case or not the case, but some women feel this way. Some women feel that they are discriminated against in the world as a consequence of being female, right? That there's this male privilege. And so if a man identifies as a woman, some of them may feel like he's appropriating some of the trauma and negative events that they experience in life as a woman.
Okay, but yes, women do, I get what you're saying, but I feel like trans women go through a lot of stuff too. Like I feel like
the difference, just real quick though, the difference is it's self-inflicted because they are a man and they're choosing to dress as a woman.
Do you yourself believe you're doing someone a solid when you call them what they were born as?
I like the use of the word solid there, I'm not gonna lie. I do feel like I'm doing someone a solid when I address them in honesty as the gender that they not only were born as, but still are.
And if it's something that you can tell is clearly, if you're doing something that you can tell is clearly upsetting somebody in a way, over and over again, even in your own brain, you're like, I believe that it is right for me to address them as a man because they were born as a man, because that's what they are.
So I'm not responsible for someone's reactions to me telling them the truth.
Okay, but in your in your head you are correct by addressing them as a man. In their head you are wrong, and all you're doing is you're upsetting another person by addressing them as a different gender.
And I might upset a drunkard when I address him as drunk if he thinks he's sober.
But what I'm trying to tell you is that like it doesn't really. I was about to say something and it just slipped out of my mind. You said it's loving to address them as what they were born as, but I feel like if you are constantly addressing them as something that they do not want to be addressed as, even if in your own head, even with your own like logistics that yes, they were born a man, this is right. And if I continue to address them as a woman, they might cut off blah blah blah, they might get blah blah blah. But on the surface, all you're doing is like harassing them in a way.
No, not at all. Just,
like,
I'm gonna
because
do
like okay, no, because what I'm trying to say is that in their head, they're a woman and you keep calling them a man. Like, you're not doing anything. You calling them a man isn't going to do anything for them.
Okay, I'm going to do one last comparison, and then we'll try to wrap this up. And then if you want to do another topic, we can do another topic. Okay, so the last comparison I'm going to make is if there was an individual who's perfectly healthy, like flawless physical condition, and they thought that they had cancer, and they asked you to address them as someone who has cancer and not to tell them that they are healthy, would you do it?
No. You don't have cancer.
Okay, so you tell them that they are healthy. What? All right, so so just go ahead and address like that comparison of the healthy individual who thinks he has cancer.
I think that is a completely different thing. Because somebody who is completely healthy and somebody who thinks they have cancer, or are you saying they think they have cancer?
Yeah, so they identify as having cancer, but they're perfectly healthy.
That just like, I feel like that's a false equivalency.
The reason that I bring it up is because an individual who thinks he has cancer but he actually doesn't is going to make decisions consistent with that belief. So he might try to get chemotherapy even if it's on the black market, resulting in irreversible infertility loss or irreversible fertility loss. And someone, a man, for example, who thinks he's a woman, might behave consistent with that, chop off his wiener, and thus have irreversible fertility loss. So in both cases, negative medical outcomes that were driven by a false belief they held about themselves.
One is getting chemotherapy, and one is because I called a woman when they were born a man. Like,
so they're both cases of going along with someone's false belief. That's the point. But I do want to try to move on to, if you want to do another topic, we can do that. Otherwise, if someone else wants to come up, we might do that.